Hi there guys, Vino here and welcome to this Vino Plonk production and welcome to the next entry in my Revisited series. This is a series of videos that I've been doing where I take a set that's been in my collection for about a year. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's longer, depending on when I realise I've bought the set or the collection or the movie, the TV show, whatever it may be that's in this series, and I go back to it. Basically I re-examine the box set, re-examine the content, and then talk about where it is in my collection, how much of it I've gone through, and ultimately was the purchase maybe justified, who knows, have I even watched it at all, just through some of those things, because I think it's really interesting to understand sometimes the philosophy, the decisions that go into buying a set. And we're all guilty of buying something and then just putting it to one side, it collects dust and then nothing happens to it. So that's the other thing this series does. It kind of makes me accountable, keeps me accountable for making sure I try and you know, look into these sets. So here we have the Dawn of the Dead, the Second Sight box set that came out a few years back. In fact, it came out in, I wish the date was on the back, just gives you the date of the film. I'm sure somewhere in this box set it'll give the date of when this set came out. But this came out a few years back, a couple of years back, and everybody and their mother, everybody on YouTube bought this set. There's even a few YouTubers that made fun out of this set, or rather made fun out how many people bought this set. It was ubiquitous on eBay. You could not move for it, and it went out of print very quickly. There's a 4K version of this as well. This is the standard Blu-ray version, but it sold out really quickly and started garnering collector's prices. It was about £80, 60 to £80 on release, depending on where you bought it from. Zavvi tend to be the best place, from my looking around, was the best place to maybe order it from, but it quickly went out of stock and started garnering collector's prices on eBay. We're talking 120, 150, 200 £200 in some respects, way out of my price bracket. But then it along came on eBay. I had a bit of spare money and I got this for £60, 50 or £60 I seem to believe, plus I got an extra tenner off because there's a bit of damage there that we'll talk about when we go through this set. So yeah, I paid about £50 for this set when I bought it a year ago now, which is why I'm doing this this video, and I couldn't be happier. Let's go through the contents, shall we? So that's the outer case here. You can see that very iconic, I'm going to call it a logo image. That doesn't actually feature in the film itself. This was actually featured in pre-shots or storyboarding, but yeah. So there is an outer sleeve. You can call it a J card if you will, but it's basically what the J card would be if this was a smaller release. You then got all the contents of this set, but I'm going to be going through it. And on the back, you've got that iconic sentence: when there's no more room in hell, the dead shall walk the earth. Yes. So you then take off this top, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail about the damage. As you can see there is a split down the side there, and when I actually received the set and said to the seller, yeah, there's a split down there, they were really nice about it and said, I did not know that was a split down there. They didn't try and accuse me of it, but yeah, there is a split there. I have thought about gluing it at some point, but I want to glue it in a good way that kind of hides it, and I've never thought of how to do that. So if anybody has a comment on how to maybe do that to make sure it's hidden well enough, let me know and I can get to that. Anyway, so the contents of the set are outlined here. The first thing you get is a Dissecting the Dead book. And what this basically is going through the cultural impact this film had. The fact that upon release it was actually a bit of a flop and it became the much more cultural, iconically recognised film. That was a sentence and a half, wasn't it? That was good English, Gareth. Anyway, so This book basically goes into the fact the film was a flop when it first came out and later on became the cult classic it is now known as. The fact that some of the satirical elements of the film weren't really discovered or explored till much later on. It really is a fantastic behind the scenes book about everything to do with this film, from shooting, there you go, there's some behind the scenes shots there, to how they came up with this film. There we go, some good shots, some good makeup shots there. If you're into that course, obviously it's got some forewords and interviews and what have you by likes of Tom Savini, Romero himself, some of the actors and actresses involved. In case they go, there's some posters in there as well. It's a really, really good book that basically dissects the film. But if you're just a general film fan as well, it really goes into some of the more arduous parts of the film. You know, filming on a small budget and things of that nature. Really is a good book and highly recommend it. Next up, we have a novelisation of the film done by George A. Romeo and Susanna Sparrow. So this is actually taken from an extended version of the script, or I think a non-finished version of the script. So there is a version of the script out there that's a lot longer than the film ended up being and was cut down significantly. Romero was told to cut down on that script significantly in order to get the film onto film and then out to cinema, into people's hands, so to speak, or people's eyes more accurately. And yeah, so that script was actually unfinished, and I do believe Susanna Sparrow has gone ahead and filled in the gaps. But what this essentially is, this is a further look into the film, if you will, and actually has some elements that aren't in the film, hence why it's taken from a longer script, so to speak. So although it does follow the events of the film quite closely, it does divert off of the film at various points. Really is a good book. Obviously I was a little confused when I saw that Romeo was on the credits on this book because he died many years ago. May he rest in peace. But I do believe Susanna Sparrow has decided to fill in the gaps that would have been there. Unfortunately, mine's got a crease on the back of it, which is a little unfortunate. But hey, it was second hand, so I'm not going to hold it against anybody. The next thing you get one of these packs, and I really like when you open up this pack, you get this panoramic shot at the back. I'm not going to open it completely all the way out, but yeah, you get this nice panoramic shot. So you get this, and included in this particular one is all of the different cuts of the film. So you get the theatrical cut, you get the extended can cut, you get the Argento cut, and then you get the special features. Yes, this really does contain everything you'd ever want with this particular set. So yeah, it contains all of the main known cuts. The only cut it doesn't contain, I think, is the George A. Romeo extended cut that is out there, but it contains practically everything else. So yeah, even the most die-hard fans, get it, zombie, anyway, would probably want to delve into some of that content. We'll get into what content I've delved into, or rather, more importantly, haven't delved into. And the next thing you get, the final thing you get in the set, is you get a soundtrack. Not only do you get the original soundtrack by Goblin, but of course you get the score, or parts of the score, or what have you, on these two discs here. A lot of these are now part of the public domain, but because they were used from the public domain in the first place. But these are some components from the DeWolf library that was used during the making of this film for some of the music. And of course Goblin, which was a band around at the time that Romero partnered up with. I think Argento actually recommended the band to Romero, and yeah, some really good stuff in there. Really good stuff. Iconic. If you've seen the film and you listen through to any of this, you'll immediately think of the scenes that are involved. So yeah, that has been the contents of it. Obviously the base there, not really much to speak of. It's the base of it. So we're just gonna put this all back in the set, and now we're going to talk about what I've personally delved into when it came to this set. So when I first got the set, I popped it into my Blu-ray player to give it a bit of a look, and accidentally ended up watching the whole film. Well, I say at that time I watched about an hour of the film, went to work, came back, and then watched the next hour of the film. I will do a separate review at some point on this film, but by God, by God, is this film incredible. Not only is this one of the best zombie films ever made, it's one of the best 70s films ever made, and cemented my love of 70s cinema even more than it was already cemented at the time, because I was going through some of the Dirty Harry movies and things of that nature, and plus my favourite movie of all time, one of them anyway, is Alien, which is, of course was done in '79. So I've got a big love for that decade of cinema, and this just further cemented my love of that decade of when it came to cinema. This film just pops off from the beginning, which is actually funny because the first sets of scene, the first part of this film is actually all reshoots. A lot of it is reshoots, which I find really funny, that it's one of the most iconic part of the films and they went back and reshot it. Once that chaotic, you know, opening of the film takes place, you then go to a more serene, surreal, more relaxed, if you will, part of the film in the shopping mall, and the main film then opens up from there. But what can I say that hasn't already been said? As I said, I'll probably leave what I'm going to say beyond that to the dedicated video for the review. But yeah, I've watched the film and watched it many times at this point. This is a phenomenal film. It's actually really strange how good this film is. I know it sounds weird, but it almost feels like a modern film to me. Just the pacing of the film, just a lot of the film just feels like it was filmed yesterday. For me, I don't know whether that's because of the Blu-ray or what have you. It's just a phenomenally good film. It's really a human film, if you know what I mean. And if you couldn't tell, I love it to bits. As opposed to this particular collection, I haven't delved into much beyond the theatrical cut of the film. I haven't watched the Argento cut or the Cannes cut. I haven't really delved into special features. I have listened through to the three soundtrack CDs. I've been on Discord or playing a game, and I've put them on the background and loved boogieing out to them or just listening to them as they're on the background. But beyond that, I haven't really done much with this set. I have read through or skimmed through the Dissecting the Dead book, and the same with the novelisation of the film. But having said that, to me this is such an iconic film that to me it requires a collection like this. There was that Anchor Bay release that came out in 2004. My brain wants to say, don't know how true that is, if I can recollect that properly, but that Anchor Bay release was phenomenal and was the, you know, yardstick, the measuring stick when it came to how to release a film like this. And this film hadn't gotten the same treatment when it came to Blu-ray until this set came out. As I said at the beginning, this is out on both Blu-ray and 4K. It went out of print very quickly, but Second Sight have also now released a non-limited edition of this, which is far cheaper and a lot more easier to get hold of. And also Arrow Video have also released a version of this as well. So it's out there, was what I'm trying to say. Is when it first came out, this was a limited, you know, release, hence limited edition on the top there. But it's now much more available. Arrow Video have a version of it out. Second Sight have a non-limited edition of it out. Plus there's a European one just called Zombie that came out as well. It is out there. You can also find the particular versions of these films. You can find them on like Amazon Video and places like that. Also Arrow Video's own streaming platform is on there as well, so you can find them if you don't necessarily you know, fork up the cash for this particular set, which I completely understand, because finding this set now will probably be quite expensive. But it's out in other forms, so, you know, you are welcome to try and get hold of it however you see fit. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this version of my Revisited series. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, and until next time guys, please take care, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.